Hi everyone, welcome back to a new video. Today I have this laptop. This right here is an Acer TravelMate 5744Z. This laptop was released in July of 2011 for around 380 euros and my model has an Intel Pentium dual core P6200 at 2.13 GHz, 2GB of DDR3 RAM, a 500GB hard drive, and Intel HD graphics which powers the 15.6 inch 1366 by 768 LCD display. Let's find out what this laptop from 10 years ago can still do today. Alright, time to unbox this laptop. I bought this laptop online for 20 euros since this laptop has issues with the cooling system. First the laptop comes out and further down in the box is the charger. Overall this laptop was packaged very well. Since this laptop had no hard drive, time to put one in it. The previous owner left the hard drive caddy with the screws in the laptop, which is awesome. I also upgraded the RAM from 2GB to 6GB. Time to see if the laptop actually boots. Plugging in the charger, an orange status LED lights up and after pressing the power button, the laptop springs right into life. After booting the laptop into an install of Windows 10, CPU ID shows that even in idle, the processor hits around 70 degrees, spiking up to 85. So, time to replace the thermal paste. I made a full tutorial on my other channel, but here I'm just going to speed it up. Now it's time to clean the laptop. The laptop had some tape residue near the webcam, but apart from that, the laptop was pretty clean. The keyboard does have wear and tear marks on it, the keys are almost all polished from using them. So, after replacing the thermal paste and cleaning, time to see if this laptop still boots up. And yes it does! Alright, now that I know that the laptop boots, time to have a look at the laptop itself. The power button on this laptop looks like it would have a light in it, but all of the status lights are near the bottom. An issue that I have with the keyboard is that there is no way to check if caps lock or num lock is on. There are no lights anywhere on the laptop for it. Speaking about the keyboard, this is the keyboard. Like you can see, this keyboard even has a full-sized numpad. The touchpad on this laptop is pretty good. The buttons are clicky and it even has a part for scrolling. The hinges on this laptop are also pretty good. This laptop can be opened with one hand. Time to look at the ports. On the front, this laptop has no ports. On the right side, this laptop has a headphone jack, a microphone jack, 2 USB ports, a DVD player and a charging port. On the back, this laptop has no port. On the left side, this laptop has an opening for a lock, an opening for the fan, a VGA port, an Ethernet port, a USB port and the SD card slot. Time to boot up the laptop. I skipped the Windows install because replacing the thermal paste apparently did not solve the overheating issue. I ended up slightly bending the heat pipe back into place and I replaced the BIOS battery. After that, the laptop did not overheat anymore, but I installed Windows to find out, but I did not film it. Time to install some programs. I'm going to have to film my screen again since this laptop does not have an HDMI port and using a VGA to HDMI adapter on my capture card does not work. Time to have a look at the keyboard. The keyboard types pretty well and the keys are big enough that I don't really make typing mistakes. This is how the keyboard sounds. This laptop has a full-size numpad, which is a nice feature. This laptop has these function key shortcuts and they work pretty well and they're in good spots. The only complaint that I have about the keyboard is the key travel. It's really shallow and it does not feel good while typing. Also, look at how much the keyboard bends near the top here. Time to test YouTube. YouTube is perfectly watchable up to 1080p. The speakers are not the best, but they're acceptable for a laptop. This is how the speakers sound. It is built into a Cooler Master Half X. But before I can get to using this PC, I have to clean it since this PC is used but hasn't been cleaned. Moving on to Userbenchmark. This benchmark showed that the processor, GPU and hard drive were performing as expected, while the RAM was performing below potential. For a more intense benchmark, Heaven. On the high quality preset, the laptop got an average FPS of 1.9 and a score of 47. Time to move on to Minecraft. In the 1366 by 768 resolution and windowed at the lowest settings, this game did not run well. I got around 2 FPS in game. I could also not put the game in full screen, since if I would do that, the game would crash. Moving on to Roblox. On the lowest settings, this game actually almost ran acceptable, but an average FPS of 15 with 1% lows and 0.1% lows of 1 FPS does not really make for a good experience. So no, Roblox is also not playable. Luckily, there are games that do run fine on this laptop, like Freddy Fazbears Pizzaria Simulator. This game ran fine, but even a light game as light as this uses 50 to 70% of the CPU. Ultimate Custom Night was not playable. I got around 10 FPS in game and this game had the CPU around 80 to 100% usage most of the time. Euro Truck Simulator 2 was not very playable. At the absolute lowest settings in the 1024 by 768 resolution, I got around 15 FPS. The visual quality was also so bad that I would not consider this game to be playable. Bus Simulator 12 also ran very poor. At the lowest settings, this game was not very playable since I got around 4 FPS in game. CSGO was also not playable even at the lowest settings. In the benchmark I got a max FPS of 34, while usually hovering around 8 FPS. In a regular match, this laptop would also not get more than 10 FPS. BeamNG drive would not start due to DirectX limitations. Bus Simulator 16 at the lowest settings in the 800 by 600 resolution was maxing out the GPU, but even while doing that I only got around 6 FPS in game. PC Building Simulator at the lowest settings in the 1024 by 768 resolution got around 3 FPS in game, so this game is also not playable. Fortnite would not start due to direct 3D limitations. GTA 5 would try to start, but after the intro screen the game would crash. I also tested the battery since it still worked. After 1 hour and 15 minutes the laptop fully died. Not too bad for the original battery. Alright, now it's time for my final opinion on this laptop. Overall, I expected more out of this laptop. I like the design, the keyboard, but the processor is really holding this laptop back from being a good laptop. If I ever get my hands on one of its brothers, the TravelMate 5744 series, I'll definitely make a review on them since those laptops are fitted with Core i5 processors. This laptop is still pretty usable for light tasks like web browsing and making Word documents, but for gaming it's just not suitable. This laptop also stays pretty quiet even under load, but overall I'm still pretty disappointed in this laptop. And with that, this video comes to an end. Thanks so much for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye!